What is up, everybody? Isaac here with Civil Engineering Academy. Excited to be with you today on another fun podcast episode. If you need resources for your FE or PE exam, definitely go check us out, civilengineeringacademy.com. We have some awesome courses, so check those out. If you want to go directly to them, go to civilFEreviewcourse.com for your FE, and for your PE, go to civilPEreviewcourse.com for that. And there's good stuff there. Today, I actually interview an amazing guest, and we have a really good time talking about finances. This is someone that really struggled with finances early in his career, and I think there's many out there that do, especially when you're going through college and stuff. You can really rack up the debt. But Nicolai Oliden, he is a roadway project engineer and manages roadway projects out of Arizona. So he really is involved with a lot of different disciplines within the engineering industry. He graduated from Arizona State University in 2008. So in addition to his work, he also started a website about dealing with leadership development, but also talks about finances and helping people with their finances at EngineeringYou.org. So we talk about that in the podcast as well. He does give presentations across the country and help others about leadership, personal development, as well as money management skills. So definitely go check him out at EngineeringYou.org. Anyway, in the episode, we talk about all about finances, what he did to get out of debt. He paid off, well over $140,000 worth of debt. And it's really an inspiring story for anyone that has dug a hole for themselves, whether you've gone through school and done that or in other ways. So I think all of us can relate to that in some way. So really inspiring story. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So definitely go check this episode out, and all of this fun stuff is going to be coming up right after this. See you in a minute. Nicolai, what is going on? Welcome to the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited that you're here. This is going to be fun. Before we jump into stuff, though, I always love to ask, how did you get into engineering? What's your background in engineering? How did you find yourself here?
Sure. Oh, that's feels like forever ago. But my father, my dad, was a construction worker, and he grew. He rose through the ranks of construction companies. And so he would bring me along, even as like a 4-year-old kid. I'd have pictures of me in a hard hat, and we'd go look at his bridges construction or the walls construction. And I think it just kind of, I don't know, it just intrigued me even as a little kid. And it just kind of continued to grow. And then the older I got, the more I saw that, the stuff that engineers design really has a positive, or hopefully a positive, impact on society. And, we're kind of these, back room heroes. I don't know, maybe that's corny, but we're like, we do all
True.
these things for society and for the community that they never even know, and it's just fun. It's a great, rewarding career. So eventually I went to ASU, go Sun Devils, and graduated 14 years ago in 2008. And I stuck with roadway engineering. That's been my background. I've had a kind of a crazy career going here and there, working for small companies, and they lent me out to large companies for a while. But it's been quite the experience, and I've had really awesome time working with awesome professionals here in Phoenix. It's been a great 14 years.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So we're specializing in kind of that transportation area, which is awesome. Good field to be in. So
Yeah.
good stuff. Well, one of the things that we connected about was really the financial journey that you've taken, which also is attached to engineering when there's so much cost, with college and things of that nature. So, uh, can you tell me what, basically, the story of your financial journey and why you want to help others with theirs now?
Sure. Yeah. So I graduated from college with student loan debt and credit card debt and a car loan. I saw everybody around me doing their thing, and they had nicer cars than I had. They were buying homes. They were going on vacations. I was like, I'm not going on vacation, so maybe I should. And I just open up another credit card and go on a vacation and throw it on the credit card. And I see my
Mm.
parents, and I just see them. I just watched what other people were doing because I had no financial education on my own. I was very financially illiterate, and
Mm.
just tried to keep up, and I didn't realize that my friends were making, 15, $20,000 more than me out of college as mechanical or aerospace engineers. And my parents had at least a 30-year head start on me with their finances. So obviously they were making more money than I was. So keeping up really hurt me more. And as a natural spender, man, I really like spending money. I'm really good at spending money, and I just didn't know how to do anything. So I dug myself into quite a hole. My wife, married into my debt. She had a little bit of debt, maybe like 4 grand. But we eventually, after years and years going through a financial class and then turning everything around, in about 40 months, we paid off $149,000 of non-mortgage debt. And
Wow.
it was hard. It was really hard. It all happened in my mid to late 20s. Lots of sacrifice, lots of conflicts with everything because money touches everything. And so I just said, we're going to go for it. And here I am now, 5 years later, where we've been debt free, with an emergency fund in place. And money touches everything. I mean, you can't do anything without money somehow being involved. And in no way, shape, or form do I ever want to be considered as somebody who like worships money or just wants more, more, more. That's not the purpose. But I have seen how money is an incredible tool,
Mm.
and money can open up opportunities. Um, I mean, money gives me an opportunity that now, with extra margin every month and savings in place and no debts, I don't have to be making as much as money as I'm making if I wanted to make a change, or I don't have to be doing something that because like I need the extra money to pay off these debts or pay off my car loans. It just set me up to be able to make a lot more decisions, and opportunities came my way, and it's been great. So after seeing the amazing 180 impact it did on my life, it's like, why would I not want everybody else to know all this stuff? Why would
Oh
I
yeah.
not share my story with these people so either they can dig themselves out of their own hole that they're already in, or hopefully not go into the same hole that I did, so that's
Yeah.
why I want to be able to help as many young people as I can.
So, take me through the college years. I imagine your dad, he's an engineer, but you're going to school and you're taking out student loans. Is that correct, or is that
Yeah.
how we got through college?
Yeah, so my dad actually offered to pay for my college, and I
Ah.
declined him by saying, I don't know if I will take it as seriously if I don't pay for this myself. Now, clearly, I
Ah.
had no money, so I took out student loans, and luckily, 18 years ago when I started, college was a lot less expensive. So it was about
Yes.
5,000 a year. I lived at home, so that saved on room and board. But I did work, and then this is the other sad part. So one, I turned down my dad to pay for my college. Two, I took out student loans when I didn't really have to because I ended up getting internships, which every engineering student, I would encourage them to get an internship. I also valeted, and I made
Mm.
enough money. I probably could have paid for my school while I was going through it, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I saw, like I said, people going out, people having fun, going to the bars, buying DVDs before Netflix was around, and I just wasted all my money. I just spent all of it because I had no discipline or financial discipline, and then that just continued after college, And so then I had those loans I'm paying back, and yeah, so
That
yeah, I
makes
took out
sense.
loans all 4 years.
So, I guess in general, what tips might you have with others on getting out of debt, whether it's school or credit card or this
Sure.
massive hole that they have found themselves in? I mean, a big portion of our audience is either preparing for their FE or preparing for their PE. So they're probably starting their careers, and some might be in the same boat that you were. So, any tips around that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the number one tip, and it's really hard to get there unless you're feeling pain already, because nobody goes from here to there until here is unacceptable, right?
Hmm.
And so if you're not feeling the pain of the debt that you have right now, if you're not feeling the stress and the pressure of the debt that you have right now, it's going to be very hard for you to even come up with any sort of motivation to pay it off. But I would just encourage you just to look at your interest rates and how they're negatively impacting you. And like I said, I took $5,000 a year out for all of my college. So by the time I graduated, I had $20,000 of student loans. By the time I paid it off, I actually paid $30,000. So I paid an extra $10,000 because of interest, and it
Mm,
just pisses me off now. I'm looking back at it, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sucks. My car loans, I had a pretty low interest rate, but by the time you paid it off, you see how much interest you paid. So I got to a point where I got angry and I hated debt because it like kills your dreams and it strangles your income. I would be so excited to have a $2,000 paycheck, and then I'd look at the beginning of the month and I have $1,200 of minimum payments on my student loans and credit cards and car loan. And it's like, how are you ever going to get ahead? How can I ever do anything beside living paycheck to paycheck with $1,200 minimum payments every month, especially young right out of college? And
mm.
so just getting angry, getting upset, feeling pain. Like it's a weird thing to say. Like I hope you feel pain, but anybody who has some debts, I really hope you get to a point where you get to that pain point where you're like, I'm done with this, and I'm tired of paying interest. I'm tired of paying these payments to people. I want all of my income to go to my bank account, and I want to decide what to do with it, not let the student loans and the
Yeah,
credit cards. So I would do that, and then just commit to being like, I'm done. I'm just going to pay this off.
I love it. Well, I'm sure part of that is developing some sort of budget. And you were married, it sounds like, as you were trying to figure all this out. What tips do you have about doing that? Getting on the same page, or even doing a budget together with your spouse.
Oh man, that's a great question. So a couple of these will apply whether you're married or not. So number one is just commit to doing a budget. Nobody does budgets. I mean, a lot of people they hear the B word and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not fun. That's not
Mm-hmm.
good. I don't want to do it." But I promise you, if your budget is not if your budget is giving you any sort of like negative feelings, you're doing it wrong. So I will give you that.
Hmm.
But do it every single month and commit to doing it every single month. We've been debt free for 5 years now, and we still do a budget every single month. And so then when you do a budget, you do a zero based budget. So basically, all that means is give every single income dollar a name. So hopefully, at the end of the month, you have extra money. Let's just say you have $1,000 extra at the end of the month. If you don't say what you're going to do with those $1,000, that thousand will quickly look like $500 because you just overspent somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, okay, of this $1,000, I'm going to put 500 to investments, I'm going to put 200 to a future vacation, and then the other 300, I'm just going to have fun. That's great. Like you should be building fun money into your budget, anyways. But zero based budget, give every single dollar a name. Now, if you find yourself in a position where you have zero margin, like I did when I first got started, because I had so much debt and I had committed and my house payment, everything, it just was too much. So I was going deeper and deeper and deeper every month. You're gonna have to make cuts, whether that's your food or your entertainment, vacations, whatever it might be. You're gonna have to make cuts until your income and expenses are all zero, so zero based. And then the last tip I would give, you need to track. If you just write a budget down and then just wing it and hope at the end of the month you hit your numbers, you're doing it wrong. Tracking is absolutely necessary. So get a budget app, use a spreadsheet. I know we're engineers. I love using a spreadsheet to do a budget, but you have to track it, at least once, twice a week at a minimum, and then make adjustments along the way because something's going to happen where you have a car tire blowout and all of a sudden you owe $200 for a new tire. Well, where's that going to come from? And so you make adjustments along the way. So commit to doing it, make a zero based budget, and track your money along the way.
Okay, I like it. What if and to get your spouse on board
Oh
doing this
yes,
stuff is what it sounds like.
yeah. So getting the spouse. what really was helpful for my spouse and I was to understand our different styles. So I was the nerd of the couple, and she was like the free spirit. She didn't want to do a budget, if I'm being honest. Like, budget is a bad word to her, at least when we started. Uh, it was hard to, like, hey, let's sit down and have a budget meeting. She wanted to die. Like, it just was not her thing. So, and I'm like, oh, yeah, spreadsheets, let's go. So
Uh,
understanding that, and then understanding who's the spender and who's the saver. So, like I said, I'm the spender, she's the saver. And so, once we accepted that in ourselves, and then we acknowledge the other person, I don't make her sit through a 30-minute budget meeting. I do all the budget by myself. And then I say, hey, you got 2 minutes to review this, make a change, find something I did wrong, and make the change, and then just say, "Yep, we're in agreement." But you can't do a budget with your spouse if you're both not in agreement.
hmm.
So that's number one. That's a big one. The next one, I would say, is make everything fair. So we have fun money we call pocket money. Like, it's cash that we put in our pockets that I get to use for. I mostly use it for food, if I'm honest. She uses it, and she saves it every single month, and then she goes on like a $500 shopping spree. Um, but we make everything fair. So if there's a month where I'm like, hey, I want to go golf, an extra golf outing this month, it's going to cost me an extra $50. I have to be ready to give her another $50 because I'm taking an extra 50. Like, we're
Uh,
always fair. Now there are times where she declines and she's like, I don't need the extra 50, or I will decline and say, I don't need the extra 20 or 100. But we always come ready to make everything 50-50 fair. So
hmm.
that would be my next one.
I really like those tips. So good,
Yeah.
really great tips, actually. Um, if we're not on board with each other, we're probably not moving very far. So
Yeah, actually, can I say one more thing on this?
yeah.
So we were paying off debts before we had kids. My wife got pregnant during our while we were like going gung ho, and $149,000 when we were averaging about $80,000 a year with our minimum salaries. The math doesn't really make sense. So I was working a lot of overtime. But when our son was born, she hit the brakes and completely just stopped, and I just kept going, and it caused a lot of conflict. And so it really was difficult. The relationship was strained. We weren't on the same page with our money goals anymore, and we paid off a little bit of debt, but it wasn't nearly as much as we were paying off when we were on the same page.
Hmm.
Even our expenses. We were still doing a budget, but we stuck to our budget so much better when we were on the same page, and when we weren't, it was just butting heads. I mean, it was not good for a few months, and then finally we had to back up and be like, all right, what are we doing? So we got back on the same page, and then within months we had everything else paid off. It was awesome. But
Wow.
yeah, getting on the same page is number one for sure.
Excellent tips. Well, speaking of money, budgeting, and where are some good places that the engineers or anyone could be saving their money? Where's a good
Yeah.
place to put that?
Yeah, great question. So I think it depends on what it is. So we paid off our debts, and then the next step for us was to get an emergency fund in place. Now, an emergency fund for us was 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and that will determine based on your situation, probably based on your income, right? I'm a single income family. We have 3 kids. So if I lose my job, that is really going to put a strain on us very fast. So we do 6 months. So if I lose my job today, I have 6 months worth of expenses, and really we could probably tighten that up and make it last a little bit longer. You have 2 incomes, no kids, 3 months is probably enough for you, but you got to figure out what makes you feel comfortable. Now, the emergency fund is not an investment. We do not want to tie that money up into anything, because if my AC unit on my house goes out, I need to replace that night, right? I need that
Hmm.
money immediately. So you don't want to tie it up in a CD or some sort of investment. Like, you just want that in like a high yield savings account, which I do understand you're maybe going to find one for 1% interest or 0.8% interest, but that's where I would recommend keeping your emergency fund. Now, I just bought a new car last month, and I paid cash for it, and 20 some $1,000s was a lot of money for us to save, and it took
Hmm.
years and years and years to save that money. Well, if I'm going to have something else, so my new plan for that would be my next car, probably not for 5 or 10 more years. My wife's car is probably 5 years from now. So I don't want to put it into a regular savings account with no interest or a high yield savings account with 1% interest, knowing that 5 to 10 years, likely the stock market is going to do okay. So I put that money now into a non or just a regular brokerage investment account, and I put it into index funds. And yes, they've tanked in the last couple months, but I know I don't need that money for a while, and I'm just going to keep putting money in there, and those index funds will hopefully grow as the stock market grows over the years. And then when I take it all out, yes, I'll do whatever I have to do with taxes on those gains, but hopefully it will be way better than what the inflation would have cost me if I would just had it in a regular savings account. So I think it depends on what you are saving, but emergency fund, no risk, put it somewhere safe. Yes, I know inflation is going to kill it, but it's not an investment. Everything else that's 5 or more years down the road, I'm just putting it all into index funds at this point in a brokerage account.
There you go. So bank's better than your mattress then, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So we also, there are some like irregular expenses like our taxes or our insurance. They're every 6 months or every 12 months, and so we used to keep all that in cash at home so that we wouldn't spend it, and then we would deposit it and make the payment. And eventually, we had like $4,000 in cash in our house, and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable having $4,000 in cash. So I mean, we use Capital One 360 savings account because you can open up multiple accounts inside of there, and then
Yeah.
you can name them.
Yep.
And so we have one named taxes, we have one named future car fund, we have one named for vacations. So all of that money just gets automatically deposited into that, and that's the high yield savings, right? So it's 0.8
Yep.
percent.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, I would not put it in your house if it's going to start to be a large amount of money.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, tell us more about this website and what you do now. You started a website called EngineeringYou.org, and tell us about that and what you're doing to help engineers and really everybody. So tell us a bit
Sure.
more about
Well,
that.
thank you. Yeah. So I started Engineering You in 2014, 2015 time. I started as a financial coach. So that's kind of like where a big passion of mine started, and helping young people is my focus, is young people, young engineers, and just like, let's learn how to budget, let's have a debt payoff plan, let's help with your savings. I'll give you all the tips that I've learned along the way. And so I do financial coaching, and then on top of that, which things have grown over the last few years, is career coaching, more early career development.
Hmm.
And so I have two programs. One's called Self Leadership 101, where it's really for anybody right out of school to, young mid 30s. It kind of depends on where you are in your walk, but really focus on self discipline, creating habits, time management, financial management, all that sort of thing, how to communicate better with your boss. And then the next step above that would be my Emerging Leaders course, where we just continue to walk with you, new tips or new topics every month. It's kind of an assortment of topics, and we vote. When you come in, you can vote on the next 6 topics. It's like a 6 month membership, and we just have a lot of fun with the accountability and coaching in between the meetings. So it's that's kind of what I do. And then
That's
hopefully,
awesome.
later this year, I mentioned to you earlier that I'm hoping to release my financial course, Engineering Your Money. So I'm real excited about that coming up.
Okay. Well, I love it. Go check it out. EngineeringYou.org. Get leadership tips. You help with financial stuff too. And that's good stuff. Nikolai, is there any other resources out there you might suggest to our audience about financial planning or anything else that would be helpful to engineers in this journey?
On the financial front, so I went through a course called Financial Peace University. It's put out by Dave Ramsey,
Hmm.
and he has a radio show. It completely changed my life. The coaching program that I went through to get be trained as a coach was actually Financial Peace University's coaching program. We've led 550 some people through those classes and coached over 100 individually. It's just it's a great class. They've changed it. When I went through it, it was in person. You had leaders. Now it's kind of self-led, so it's a little bit different. But that's one. And then another one would be, I would not hesitate to to look into hiring a financial advisor. Find one in
Yeah.
your area, get a few recommendations from friends and family on people who they trust. Make sure that they have a real, heart of a teacher. They're willing to sit down with you until you understand what you're doing, because you should never invest into something you don't understand. And it's worth it. I know I've used one. I still use one. I may not use one forever, but it has been really helpful as I kind of got growing through the years, and now I'm at a point where I feel like I feel pretty good. But my last one would be Personal Finance Club. A guy named Jeremy, and he has a course on how to get started on investing in index funds and mutual funds, and great content, pretty cheap course. He's a real great infographics on Instagram. I love watching what he does and what he puts out there. It's really helpful. So I guess financial related, I would say those three things.
Perfect. Great resources. Definitely go check them out. We'll link them in our show notes so people can find them. But thanks for sharing those with us, Nicolai. This has been really fun. I'm curious, how can our audience connect with you if they had further questions? Is it just your website, or do you have social stuff they can go find you?
Sure. Yeah. My website, there is a contact form on there. You can reach out to me. Honestly, you can reach out to us at info@engineeringyou.org. You feel free to email us there, and we'll get to you as quickly as we can. And then lastly, I am on Instagram with EngineeringYou360. That's our handle. And I'm not as active on there, but I try to be. At least I promote. We do a free quarterly webinar, so you can probably see that on our website as well. You can just join in and see what we're doing. And our next topic is work-life balance. So there's lots of different ways you can contact us and get involved, and would love to chat with you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure to have you on here and share these tips with us. I'm sure everyone will love them. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
All right. See you later.
All right, bye.